Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, that's all she wrote. The Yankees eliminated from the divisional series, fall to the Toronto Blue Jays in Game 4. Kind of go out with a whimper in a very disappointing fashion after all the excitement of Game 3. Figured some of that momentum would carry over. It didn't. And the fact that Toronto was throwing a bullpen game at you meant the Yankees couldn't win against a bullpen game. But really, almost Toronto's handing you the game, almost conceding the game, and saying, we'll see it for Game 5 in Toronto. Not the case, and again, in a disappointing fashion, drop and eliminated from the series. And, of course, a lot of blame to go around there. And, obviously we'll get into maybe future episodes of who should stay, should go. I mean, there'll be the time for that conversation. But with that in mind, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, as well as go to YouTube, drop the latest episode. Kind of mostly covered Game 3 there, but if you want to kind of relive some of those excitement, go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe there as well. So, you felt good about this Game 4. You had Cam Schlitter on the mound. Again, Toronto didn't name a starting pitcher. So it started with Louis Volland. He was the guy who gave up the big 3-run home run to Judge in Game 3. And with that in mind, again, this Yankee offense, it was kind of really the theme of the whole way there. Was this a big no-show? And as for Cam Schlitter, look, you couldn't expect him to do what he did last week, in Game 3 against Boston. I mean, that was a performance. You probably didn't even see a performance out of him again. That doesn't really say anything about him either bad or good. That was an out-of-world performance in an out-of-world situation. But overall, I'd say he did his job. I mean, you only gave up 2 runs. I know you gave up a run early there, but overall, if you're a starting pitcher, you only give up 2 runs and you take the game into the 6th inning there. You kind of did your job, and more often than not, you will get the win. Now, again, he wasn't as dominating. Toronto, he did give up his hit, so he wasn't as dominating. He only had 2 strikeouts. Again, you didn't see the explosive stuff out of him, but again, at least kept the score close within 2-1 there. So he did his job. I mean, he saved the bullpen, which he had to, because really Yankees had no choice because he got nothing from Rendon. Bullpen got worked in Game 1 just because of the ineffectiveness of Luis Gil. Even Max Fried, he really didn't give him much now. At least the caveat there is that they'll at least be able to use Will Warren to save the bullpen. But overall, the Yankee bullpen was overused except Bednar because the Yankees only had one opportunity to actually close and save a game there. But for the rest of the guys, throwing a lot. So took one for the team, and again, he kept the score within 2-1. And really, the big blow, though, in that 7th inning with a runner on Jazz booting what was going to sure be a double play ball right up the middle. I don't want to say it was super routine, but more often than not, that's a play most second basemen make. Ball goes under his gloves into center field, sets up second and third there, and then Nathan Lukes off of Devin Williams kind of tomahawks a pitch into left field there, 2-run score, and at that point the score goes from 2-1 to 4-1, and it's the way that Yankee offense is kind of just listless the whole way there, in the 7th inning. That was the game there. And I know Toronto added on another run later on, but that was the game right there. And I know Devin Williams on the mound. You can say maybe left too much over the plate there, but it was way out of the zone. I mean, you got to give credit to Lukes on that one. I mean, he actually went out of the zone. He kind of tomahawked it over his head, get some lumber on it to nub it over the shortstop hole, and then again allow the 2 runners to score. So I wouldn't put it that Devin Williams threw a bad pitch or choked it. So if you look in the box score, you might say, oh, Devin Williams was terrible then. He wasn't. I wouldn't blame him then. And overall, like I say, for the postseason, Devin Williams was all right. He wasn't the Devin Williams of a couple of months ago where you didn't want to see the guy whatsoever there. So all that being said, though, you think, well, maybe we got a comeback in like Game 3, but the Yankees did put a couple of runs on it. Could have had something going there, but Trent Grisham came up short. Couldn't keep the rally going there. Otherwise, if Trent Grisham could have found a way to get on somehow or even get a hit, and bases a little bit Judge up, and Judge with one swing, as we saw the night before, could have tied the game up there. But again, Grisham never got that opportunity there, maybe to find out in the inning, and the Judge would lead off the next inning there, but with nobody on, wouldn't make anything. He would strike out anywhere there. So that was the game right there. Really, I would put it more on that Jazz busted double play. Because, if you could have kept the game 2-1, maybe in the 8th or 9th inning, you could have had a little bit of a miracle. Who knows there? I mean, you can't expect to have that, 2 nights in a row. But Jazz blowing that double play there really cost them 2 runs in. That was probably the game. So the Yankees pretty much dumbfounded afterwards. But the whole thing is they didn't hit. I mean, just look at the box score of this final game. Toronto had 12 hits in this game. Yeah, I know you had the Guerrero home run in Game 3 there, but other than that, it wasn't like all home runs, for the most part. I mean, it just hit. And then you guys got this, you look up and down the lineup, there's guys like Banger and, Miles and Lukes, and like, who are these guys? And Schneider, and these aren't household names. You don't like this, but all they do is hit it. And as a team, Toronto hit 338 in this series, OPS of a 9.74. So they were just getting on base, walks, but mostly just hit, single. Whereas on the Yankee side, they don't hit home runs. That's pretty much all it is. And they only had 6 hits in the game. One of them was a home run, and that's it. And that's all she wrote. And always the same theme that we get in these playoffs there. These, for the most part, I know Stanton gave us, something special last offseason, but he really gave you nothing. And really fun to just look up and down this Yankee lineup, for the series. Trent Grisham hit 138, on base percentage of 219. Now Judge, of course, he showed up this series. We all know that, and he had 2 hits in this game overall. He hit 500. I mean, he's the only person who really hold his head up. Cody Bellinger hit 214. Giancarlo Stanton hit 192. Jazz, I know he had the exciting home run in Game 3 to put the Yankees ahead, but overall in this series, hit 182. Ben Rice, 222. Wells, 227. Volpe was just absolutely horrible Game 3 and Game 4. Just an instant strikeout. Hit 192. McMahon, I guess he can hold his head up a little bit, 286. But again, look at these. Volpe, 192. Wells, 227. Rice, 222. Jazz, 182. Stanton, 192. Bellinger, 214. And again, Trent Grisham, your leadoff hitter, the guy's supposed to start things, only hit 138. And really no power at all. I know he got a couple of singles there, but that's about it. Really no power from this guy throughout the whole season, really throughout the whole postseason. So for his 30-something plus home runs, that was great for the regular season. Brought none of that into the postseason. And so that's the story. It's just this, same old thing with these Yankees when they come in there. It's just, they just don't hit for average. They just waiting for the home run. And whereas you go and look at the Toronto side, Springer, he didn't really hurt the Yankees too much in the series. He hit 167. He's probably their one blemish. But look at everyone else. Nathan Lukes, 333. Guerrero, who's just unbelievable in the series, 529. Barger hit 333. Alejandro Kirk, 222. But he had at least 2 home runs in Game 1 there. So, he did something. Varshno hit 438. Miles Straw, 400. Clemens, who killed the Yankees this series, 643. And Jimenez at 267. So just look at the batting average between both there. It's just night and day. And that's just all they did with the Yankees. They just hit, single, hit, double, single. And that's all she wrote. And whereas the Yankees just waiting for the big Judge 3-run home run, waiting for the Jazz home run to put them ahead, waiting for the McMahon home run. And that was pretty much the offense. And then you go up to the first 2 games. First game, they only score 1 run. Pathetic. And then Game 2, they really didn't get it going until they were down 12-0. Okay, fine, Bellinger hits a 2-run home run, but you're already down 12-0. It's almost meaningless there. So Yankee bats didn't show up in the series. Starters weren't effective at all there. And bullpen, I think the only thing, maybe a tip you had for this series was the bullpen. Kept the game close in Game 1 there before it came a total blowout, and that's because Weaver, who's just I can't see him being back next season. Again, try not to get to that too far there. At least the bullpen kind of kept things close, at least kept Game 1 close a little bit until Weaver finally choked it up there. And bullpen actually came through in Game 3 because Rendon obviously gave you nothing. And again, he kind of went out with a whimper as well in Game 3. So the only thing to be proud about this Yankee team, at least in the postseason, was the bullpen. But unfortunately now it's cut short as Toronto will move on to the championship series, the first time for them since 2016. So that's the episode. I wish I had better news for you. It's kind of a went out with a whimper. You wish you'd had maybe more of a fight there, or at least have an opportunity to maybe put a rally up in the 8th and 9th, but kind of Yankees didn't really have any fight in them really in this game there. And the fact that Toronto threw a bullpen game against you, which you're almost like conceding a loss, and you still couldn't take it there. So if that's the case, then hey, look, you're just not meant to move on, not meant to be World Series champion. There's nothing we could do about that. Well, it's now you can turn the page until next season. So, obviously, the season's over, but it's not over here at Section 420 Talkin Yankees. So, I'm sure there'll be stories come out. We'll cover that, we'll analyze it, give you my 2 cents. And, of course, we'll go through the roster and we'll have the typical who should stay, who should go. We got some free agents there, of course. I mentioned one of them is going to be Luke Weaver. One is going to be Devin Williams. So, you got to make some decisions on Cody Bellinger. I think there's a player or a team option to see with that. And then kind of like, what do you do with Volpe? Do you stick with him another year? Do you give up? Look at least somewhat decent in the Boston series, but we looked terrible during this season. And then let's look at the regular season they had with kind of a bunch of ups and downs. You want to stick with that? Do you do something with Dominguez, who was supposed to have this breakout year, really didn't, and then you didn't, maybe you used him for one at bat in the postseason. He did actually came through with a hit yesterday in Game 4, but what's the story with him? You going to stick with this guy? And also is Trent Grisham there. He's going to be a free agent as well. He had an amazing regular season, but he gave you a squat. Now with the 30-something home runs he hit, he's going to be looking for more than the 5 minutes he got this year. So those conversations will have to be had there. But fortunately, Yankees go down with a whimper in Game 4, and you're always going to look back at that blown double play by Jazz. That really just put the game away there. And so for the guy that talks much about, we're the best team in the league, we're going to step on the next, blah, 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 the ball will find you, and then the ball finds you and you don't come through there. It's a really bad look. So that'll be the poster for the 2025 season against the blown double play there by Jazz. So we'll catch you next time.